It's dark in the night, and there is a lifeless body of a person named Yongmin Kim lying on the road, blood flown beside. His soul is completely out of his body as he talks to a mysterious man in a white coat, who tells Yongmin that he has the most blessed fortune he has ever seen, but Yongmin just looked on, skeptically. The man in white coat extends his arm to Yongmin, offering to guide him through his afterlife as he introduces himself as the Grim Reaper. In the next scene, a confused and puzzled Yongmin tries to understand what the Grim Reaper told him, that he was originally blessed with such good fortune that he was destined to make it and enjoy a life of glamour. But he was born into a wrong body due to the result of some computing error in the afterworld. He doesn't understand any of this, but Yongmin quickly gives up the thoughts, concluding all of that makes no difference as he's dead now. But the Grim Reaper assures him, as he's got a perfect manual on compensation for incidents like this. The Grim Reaper gives him two life-defining choices of either Yongmin be sent to paradise, where he would enjoy complete and utter bliss that even he can't begin to imagine as a human, but his soul wouldn't be reincarnated when his time is up, and moreover, since they are giving Yongmin this privilege against the course of nature, Yongmin may find that he has lingering attachments and regrets about his former life, or rather Yongmin would retain his current memories and return to the body he was supposed to be born with. The Grim Reaper is willing to give Yongmin more time to consider but would love to know what he is thinking. Yongmin weighs his two delicate choices together in deep thoughts. Whether to pick a choice of an unimaginable opportunity that would never come his way again, or a big choice of an opportunity that has miraculously come to him as a second chance. The background scene is revealed more clearly, and the full picture is shown of Yongmin's lifeless body lying on the road, and an ambulance and a police vehicle parked beside him. Now it is clear what happened. He was an accident. Yongmin was hit by a car and his bloodied body lies lifelessly. Yongmin finally concludes on a decision. In the background, Yongmin's dead body is wrapped and carried off on a stretcher. In the next morning, Yongmin is woken up on a bed in an hotel room by a casually dressed ghost levitating in front of him. He was shell-shocked with the sight of the ghost in front of him and in confusion asked who he was. The ghost is disappointed that Yongmin doesn't know who he is and he introduced himself as his guide. Yongmin is still confused and tries to remember the rest of what happened last night. He remembered he chose reversion, where he will be returned to his original body, and the Grim Reaper says he would provide him with a soul that will guide him along, and hopes he puts him to good use. Meanwhile, the ghost calls Yongmin's attention to his new look and majestic physique, saying he would be getting by pretty easy in this life. Not sure, he went into the bathroom and checked himself in the mirror. He was awestruck by what he saw, surprised as the Grim Reaper didn't mention anything about this. This isn't the same Yongmin anymore. Now he has taken a completely new form. Tall, hot, and handsome young man. Yongmin sits in the restaurant of the hotel he is as he observes the passport of the new identity he is donning, the perfect life he's been given, in his new original body. A second chance at life. Name is Ian Choi, an American aged 17, has a perfect family and always gets the biggest present at every occasion. A model student, an athlete, and popular at school. He is highly sociable, wealthy, and has a large circle of friends. He is currently visiting South Korea over the school break. His ghost guide decides to start calling him Ian Choi, and he agrees. From where he sits, people started getting attracted to him, which made him a lot uncomfortable, and demands they return back to his hotel room, but his guide tells him this is the perfect opportunity for him to get used to the new glamour, because from now on, he would be the center of attention wherever he goes, unless he wants to go back to his old life as Yongmin Kim, where he was a member of a very disastrous failed idol group called Diamond, and after he turned to acting, he could only get tiny extra roles, and was an extra in any and every drama, hence earning himself the stupid nickname Not Yongmin again. When Ian gets skeptical about how he would make it in life, even after somehow given another chance at life, his guide assures he will, especially with that pretty face of his, he would get by pretty easily. Ian further inquires about the soul that used to be inside this body, but the guide says there has been a soul swap as the other soul has gone back into the body of Yongmin Kim. thereby the two souls in their rightly assigned bodies, but unlike him, the other soul probably is not even aware of the swap. When Ian asked for the name of his ghost guide, he told Ian to call him Jin. Jin makes his next move of making Ian a star by taking him to walk down the street outside carrying behind him guitar prop, but he assures him the plan is guaranteed to work, especially with his pretty face. At first it felt like a bad idea, but before Ian knew it, he started getting advances and offers from modeling agents, until they finally met an agent for a big company who offers Ian a card bearing BHL Entertainment, and he tells Ian he works for the management agency of the well-known idol group The Black Rush and offers Ian a chance for him to become an idol, if interested. Jin smiles in victory. At the BHL Entertainment Company building, members of the Ori idol group trains at the dance studio, after which they were told the big news that they would be finally getting their debut. Meanwhile, at a meeting room nearby, the arrival of Ian Choi caught the attention of everyone, including that of the company's CEO Byung-gun Lee and director Seo Oriensa. Ian introduces himself, but without wasting any time, the CEO and director sat him down, and he was signed instantly and given a new contract without an audition. 2 weeks later, after Ian has spent some time with his family back in New York, he returns to South Korea with the contract signed by his parents to join the others at BHL. Ian is in his room at the BHL building, and he thinks fondly of his emotional goodbye with his parents in New York, and how his parents from his previous life would also have done the same, concluding all parents are the same, before he was interrupted by a crashing in the door by the members of the Ori idol group who has been spying on him from the door. This is the group that he would be debuting with. After an awkward moment of staring at one another, they introduce themselves individually. First is Joroklee, rapper, 19 years old, and the oldest in the group, Seodam Park, lead vocalist, 16 years, and he is the youngest of the group, Taeyoon Cho, lead vocalist too, and he is the same age as Ian. Joyeon Kim, main dancer, and he is also the same age as Ian. Jin Hyuk Park, rapper, and he is 18 years old. And the last one of the group is Hyun Kim, main dancer, he is also 18 years. Ian also officially introduced himself to the group. Ian then decides to take the team out to eat, where they talked about how disappointed they were when they initially cancelled their debut. Joryok asks what Ian's position is on the team, and he reveals he would be the main vocalist, though he isn't so good at dancing, but they say that might be a problem because they want the group to be known for being perfectly synchronized, to Ian's surprise. The attention of the group is then shifted to the TV where the Project Idol airing has started. The group blames the show for the reason their debut was called off, especially the man being shown on the TV now, one of the show's participant Youngjoon Kim, who ditched BHL to be on the Project Idol show, so the Ori group were left a member short, and when the show became a huge hit, BHL decided to push back Ori's debut plans to avoid being in direct competition. But of all these, Ian notices something else entirely, and notices something isn't right. His previous self Yongmin Kim was not on the show, and he remembered clearly he got up to 9th place at this stage in the show, but the Ori group doesn't know who he was talking about or what he was talking about, leaving Ian baffled. Ian Choi is still baffled as to why Yongmin Kim isn't on Project Idol and fears probably Yongmin, his previous self, has disappeared. He questions his ghost guide Jin's explanation earlier about the soul swap, but he defends his explanation. They decided to search for Yongmin online, and they found him, but there is no mention of him being on Project Idol, which seems very odd and baffling to Ian, because in Ian's previous life, all he ever wanted was to become famous, so is the present Yongmin Kim leading a different life now. Moments later, Ian still much worried about Yongmin, Jin tells him to forget about him as he has his own life to worry about. Ian asks Jin why he chose the Ori group for him as is his perfect plan, and Jin explains there are a couple of reasons, but the essential fact is that Ori is the perfect group for Ian to cash in on. That even though BHL is a reputable agency, and the members of the Ori are all nice kids, but after they debut, They won't do well in Korea, but they will gain huge global recognition, so Ian can just simply use them to build up his name and then leave eventually to establish himself as his own star. Jin says Ian should see the Ori group as a safety net, but Ian doesn't seem to buy much into that so-called perfect plan. Jin attempts to convince him it's a good plan when his body is possessed by the Grim Reaper, who tells him not to worry about Yongmin Kim as he has no memory of his past and he is currently living his life as he sees fit, chasing his own separate goal, and advises Ian also to focus on his own life. Before he leaves, the Grim Reaper warns Ian not to let him influence him. Who is the him the Grim Reaper doesn't say, and left. Jin regains consciousness and asks what happened, but Ian doesn't disclose and says they should instead go back inside. A few months passed. Ian spent every day practicing with the Ori group, preparing for their upcoming debut. Meanwhile, the BHL starts building interest online for the Ori gang for their anticipated debut. Ian and Siadam Park, a member of the Ori group, discuss their nervousness about what's coming, with Siadam nervously fearing his voice might crack, and Ian feels the same way, but Joyoung, who was in the front, mumbles a reply weirdly to Ian and Siadam's conversation before he strangely leaves. This doesn't go down well with Ian, including Jin. Ian questions Jin's claim that the Ori group are all nice guys, but Jin admits there could be a bad apple in the mix after all. The Ori group traveled on a train for a self-organized pre-debut performance. Siadam Park expresses his nervous feelings and that what if nobody shows up for the show, or what if the people hates them, and tells them to leave. Several odd thoughts cross Siadam's mind, but Joyoung assures him that it will be different this time around because unlike before, they have Ian on their team, which gives them a straight ace and sure advantage of attracting people to watch them perform. Joyoung compliments Ian more excessively, and this made Ian really uncomfortable and thinks Joyoung is starting to get on his nerves. Jin assures him Joyoung would eventually get over with it, but Ian doubts. They arrive at the location and then immediately gets the whole equipment up and working. This slowly got the attention of the people around, and Siadam presents the team to the crowd as Oi, always. With you. Saying even though they haven't officially debuted yet, they wanted to give the people a sneak preview. With Siadam showcasing his hosting skills, instantly Ian started getting more of the audience attention due to his presence in the group. They then sang a song by the Black Rush. While they perform, the compliments were more on Ian, right till they finish. Finishing the performance, they reminded the crowd their name, AWY from BHL Entertainment. Ian is so much in an electric mood, satisfied with the performance he's just put in, before a woman, part of the audience, asked for when they will debut, and Ian answers December, still a while to go as they are just in April. The woman wishes them good luck and left. After the woman had left, Ian had this weird feeling of knowing the woman from somewhere. The group celebrates back home on cans of soda and fried chicken. Everyone complimented Ian on today's performance, and they all expressed delight over Ian being on their team and would help them garner lots of attention. They all talk of how amazing and talented Ian is, especially when they learn he's been doing great in his acting classes too, but Joyoung wasn't just buying any of it, and he comes out that at least Ian would have something to fall back on if their debut gets pushed back again. Moment immediately got tensed amongst the boys. Now that statement totally pissed Ian off, and he lashed out verbally at Joyoung, asking what's his problem. But Joyoung attempts to play it cool, saying he was only admiring his acting skills. But Ian wasn't buying that excuse, revealing this isn't the first time Joyoung would be making his critical and snarky remarks at him, but Joyoung still tries to play innocent, saying he doesn't know what Ian is talking about, and he doesn't mean anything by what he just said. But Ian isn't convinced at all, saying Joyoung had been giving him this weird attitude for a while now, and it's seriously starting to piss him off. At this junction, Joyoung has had enough too and now enraged himself, and says Ian is full of crap and doesn't even care about AWY anyway, and that he has plenty of other options. The statement made Ian mad and wanted to get aggressive but was stopped by the other boys. In anger, Joyoung claims to have overheard Ian saying he would just turn to acting if the debut doesn't work out. Jo Young's claim of overhearing Ian saying he would just turn into acting if this doesn't work out is shown. Ian lies on the bare floor, frustrated of the whole dance lessons as he isn't getting it. Jin tells him not to get so stressed out over it, and all he has to do is make his just to make it look like he's more or less in time, remembering Ian what he told him that being an idol is just a stepping stone for him, a safety net. Ian agrees, saying he would just turn to acting if this doesn't work out. This was where Jo Young heard him. Present time, a member of the OI bodged into Ian's room and confronted. He grabs his shirt and demands whether truly he said what Jo Young claimed, but other members, including Jo Oakley the leader, and separated the two. At that moment, Ian realizes he had forgotten something very important, his all-consuming desire to become an idol. It is the one thing he should never have lost sight of. At that point, Ian remembers what the Grim Reaper said about not letting him influence him. Hearing Jin's words and seeing his plan led to this in the first place, he deduces probably Jin might be the him after all. He summons courage and apologizes deeply to the team, explaining he wasn't thinking straight and made himself lost sight of what the group means to everyone. Ian grabs a surprised Jo Young's arm and directed it to his face, saying Jo Young should have hit him in the head and told him to get a grip. But he instead pat In's shoulder, saying he can't, else it would have made him feel even smaller. Jo-hyuk also apologies for not intervening the first moment he notices something wasn't right, but he made them all understand that they are a team and no one should ever take that for granted. Jin expresses his impression on the inspiring way they settled their disagreement, but Ian ignored him and followed Jo Young outside, leaving Jin pained. While walking out, Ian says to himself that with Jin, he needs to be very careful. Another day, Ian sits in her office at the BHL company building and remembers what Jin previously said about the Ori group. They would have the full backing of the agency and would release a great album. But they never quite made it because they were overshadowed by the success of the Project Idol. Somewhere along the line, their US trips vlogs went viral and drew the attention of overseas fans, resulting in decent album sales. In other words, they were a mediocre boy group who made an okay profit before disappearing into thin air, but Ian can't seem to get it off his mind. He told himself he would stop worrying about Yongmin Kim, but now he can't stop worrying about the Ori group, or their failure of a future, to be precise. Director Sa arrives at the table and discusses Ian's contract with him. Ian reveals he has given it enough thoughts and has come to conclusion that even though he still plans on building his acting skills, but he has promised that Oi would always come first, so he would remain a member of the group, to the shock and surprise of Jin, who wasn't expecting Ian to sign the contract. After signing, Director Sa, in a special way of celebrating that Ian has officially joined BHL, she presents him an offer of being in a drama movie. Ian is left surprised. If you want part 2, comment below and let us know. Remember to like and subscribe to our channel for additional content.